welcome to the next video of my minor region summer 2022 preview. We're covering the TSL in Turkey. So the Turkish League of Legends region produces one team a year. They produce the Istanbul Wildcats for MSI. Istanbul still first based on an algorithm and stats as an indicator for who will do well and who won't in summer in Turkey, because obviously I've said throughout these minor region videos I don't watch the minor regions, simply don't have time to. I watch almost all of the games of the four major regions, and when it comes to smaller regions it's all stat based. So I didn't take my board off the screen, did I? No, I didn't. So that's the thing. So comment down below, what do the stats not tell me? I mean, that's a fair point. Stats only tell a part of the story, not necessarily everything. We saw that with the CB Lull video. Renska is first, but everyone's like, well, Renska actually didn't even make the playoffs. And I have to be, dig a little deeper and say, well, this player's stats are good, but in a limited sample size, the team has to do this or that to get better. And that's kind of like what this is going to end up being, because, I mean, stats only, like I said, I can't say enough, only say a part of this. So Istanbul are first. In every role, they are in the upper half of the region. Top 5 in every role. Top being Saren in mid, the second best mid laner, in my opinion. Well, not even, I guess it's not in my opinion, based on what the stats tell me. And it does make sense to a degree because I do know who Balulu is. Spoiler alert when we get to Nasser. But Saren, he is second based on the stats of being first in KDA, KP, second in gold per minute, and CS per minute. It makes sense that you'd be second in gold per minute because you are farming well. He's good in lane, and also he gets into fights and he doesn't die. His KDA is solid. KDA is a trend with Istanbul, which we'll get to in a second. But, and I thought Saren, his stats graded out pretty well going into MSI. Out of the smaller region players, I did have him as the top mid laner. He only did well in one game, however, and I mean, I don't think he was by any means the best smaller region mid laner when we were done with MSI, but his stats looked good, and his stats continue to look good versus other players in his region. Also, Holy Phoenix is listed here as the third AD carry. There is no massive gap between first through third in the AD carry role, so I could see people thinking Holy Phoenix is the best one in Turkey. Obviously, his KDA and kill share are top in his role, but that's really all you can say about his stats. I know his farming numbers are lackluster. I remember that going into MSI, and even based against, when you put his stats up against other bot laners in his region, he does struggle in farm and things of that nature. So they're first. Going in, you see this black line here after fourth. In my opinion, these top 4 teams all are within enough, there's not a massive gap between the top 4 in who could be the representative for Turkey at Worlds. Supermassive Blaze, I have second. They have the top ranked top laner and support. Juzu, I'm going to go with Juzu in top. That's how I'm going to pronounce his name. He's first in KP and kill share in his role, so he gets into more fights than anybody in his role, and he gets more kills, based on comparison to the rest of his team. That makes sense, being that the mid laner and the AD carry are not overly great on this board. He takes a maybe secondary carry role on his team. And he's second in champion pool and CS per minute, so more often than not, he's winning lane, and he's willing to pull out more champions than anyone else based on how many games he played. So that has value. In support, we have Pop. He was first in KDA and kill participation, as well as third in champion pool. So he was top 3 in support in all 3, stats that I look at that I care about for supports. And KDA, I really don't even care about either. It's mainly KP and champion pool. But a very good support that gets into fights, doesn't die, and is willing to pull out more champions than most. Third place, I have Dark Passage, tied for the top-ranked jungler, and they are in the upper half of the region in top and bot. Only Typhoon is listed here. Typhoon, first in kill share based on his role, the top kill share jungler in the TCL. Third in KDA, kill participation and gold share, so he doesn't die. He's the third most, creative jungler, I guess you could say. He facilitates, but he also farms well, which matters. When you have a guy that's getting gold but also able to facilitate in the jungle role, that's the best of both worlds. You want that. If you have a guy that can do only one or the other, that limits what you can do with comps and things like that. You can't say, hey, we're going to put you on a carry jungler because really this guy doesn't farm that well. His pathing isn't great. That's not his strong suit. It limits your team. You want a guy that can do multiple things in pretty much every role. Guys that can only do one thing or one kind of meta and aren't, meta malleable, I guess, in the way that they can play multiple different things and multiple different metas. It limits what you can do. I'm going to go with Fenerbahce in fourth. Third ranked top and mid, giving them the best combined rating for solo laners in Turkey. So, being that they are the only team with a top 3 top laner and mid laner, their solo lanes are their strong suit. Nako, second in gold per minute, kill share, third in KDA and champion pool in top lane, so he pulls out many different champions. He doesn't die. His gold per minute is solid, and he also gets a good amount of kills for his role. So, makes sense given that solo laners on this team are the strong suit. In mid, you have Still Numb. There is a drop-off between Saren and Still Numb in here, enough that I actually wanted to make a note of it. But nevertheless, he is the third rank based on stats. He played more champions than anyone else based on the games he played, and he was second in CS per minute. So a good laner, can play a lot of different things and win lane, specifically laning phase, and farm and things like that, and play many different things. Fifth, you have Galatasaray. We're going to go with Galatasaray Esports. Second rated top laner and bot laner. Crazy in top. First in CS per minute and gold per minute, and second in gold share. That all makes sense, right? Guy farms better than anybody else. Therefore, he gets more gold per minute than anybody else, and his gold share is high. So he is the second most fed player when you look at, top laners versus the rest of their team. He's probably a secondary carry on his team behind the bot laner, who is Focus. Focus has more CS per minute than anybody else in bot lane, and that leads to high gold per minute and gold share as well. So team fighting, not really the strong suit of Galatasaray Esports, at least based off of what stats are telling me. Obviously, that could be completely wrong because stats only tell you so much. But nevertheless, those two players look good based on their laning numbers versus other players in their roles. Galacticos in sixth, the top rated AD carry, and therefore also have the best combined bot lane. Nariman is in the upper half of all. I believe I have 8 categories. He is in the top 5 of every category in bot lane, which over the aggregate combined makes him the best AD carry. Notable, he's first in gold share and second in CS per minute and KP. So he's getting into fights more so than his counterparts in his role. And he is farming better than almost everybody else in his role outside of Focus. And in everything else, he's good. He's not dying more than anybody else. Therefore, he is getting good farm, getting more gold, getting kills, participating in fights, all around a very good bot laner based on the amount of games he plays. And apparently, his champion pool is on the stronger side of his region. Nasser Turkey in 7th. This reminds me a little bit of Exten Esports yesterday, where you have the top-ranked mid laner by quite a margin. And he can't do enough, at least. He's going to have to drag the rest of his team to do well in summer. Balulu, like I said, I knew who Balulu was before this video. And when when you don't watch smaller regions play, like I admit, I don't watch them. When you see a player that you recognize, you're like, oh, I know who Holy Phoenix is. Oh, I know who Balulu is. Like, these players have been at international events before. They are the best of their region. That's why they continue to show up in these tournaments. Balulu, top 3 in every category in mid lane. Like I said, similar to Naramin or Naramir in Galacticos. Very good across the board. Good champion pool, good farmer, doesn't die, gets into fights, best of all worlds. And then you have the second support for Nasser, Fleshy, second in KP and champion pool, third in KDA. So similar to Pop, those two are definitely the upper tier of supports in the region. Very good across the board. 8th place, you have Team Aurora, who I believe has the tied for the best jungler with Elamir. And then 3rd ranked support in Sloth. So Sloth was in the upper half of all 3 categories, therefore top 5 in all 3 categories in support. That kind of just shows the drop off because we have 2 players here with second, and third, and then you have a guy that's like, well, he's at least the top 5 and everything. So support is weak in the TCL. When it comes to jungle and Elramir, first in CS per minute and kill participation. I can't emphasize this enough. I've already said it in this video. When you have a player that can farm and create, you have the best of both worlds. You have a guy that's like, I can farm, I can fight. Maybe the team can play into that. That can be just a team fight focused team that they're like, hey, we're not going to gank all that much. We're going to scale. We're going to play for late game and only fight around Drakes. That's a thing. That's going to cloud these stats a bit and make it look that way. But I also like to think that in a meta where Rise was a thing, Galio was a thing at times, TF, Silas, who just steals, Realm Warps and TF's Ultimate and things like that, Destiny Gate or whatever it's called. Roaming is a thing. Roaming has to be a thing in some metas. And so when you have a guy like Ramir in mid, you get the best of both. In jungle, you have the best of both worlds. Great KP and great CS per minute. Besiktas Esports, 9th place. So we have another drop off here. Let's hypothesize that 6 teams make the playoffs. I really hope it's not a league like we have in NA where the top 8 of 10 teams make the playoffs, because that's a freaking joke. So if it's a top 6, even then I think I'm not a fan. I'm not going to get into that. So we have a drop off from 8th to this team, Besiktas Esports. Only mid is in the upper half, and I don't even have his stats listed up here because he's like the 4th or 5th best mid laner in the region based on stats, but that's the only player that's even like better than the average, or he is average on that team. And then 10th, you have 5 Ronin, who has the bottom 3 in all categories. All the roles, they are in the bottom 3, whether it's 10th or 8th. I believe this team tore down this offseason. They lost a lot of players, and who they're putting in are a bunch of unproven guys. So really, what am I to say? Comment down below if you watch TCL Academy or whatever, and you know who these guys are, if they're decent or not. And if you watch the TCL, comment down below. What are your opinions? Who do you think is going to make it to Worlds? Do you think Istanbul Wildcats are just going to run away with it? Supermassive Blaze, you think they can push for it? So like the video if you like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Like I said, I do daily videos. Right now, the only video I'm sitting on in this series is the LJL. I'm probably going to do that tomorrow, even though they don't play for a couple weeks. We are still waiting on the PCS to figure out who their players are, so I can do their video. VCS as well. There is a team in the VCS that doesn't have a roster listed at all. Therefore, I can't do a video like this if I don't know who's on your team. And when it comes to PCS, I just look at PSG and don't know who their jungler is, and I'm like, well, that's the most important team that we're looking at from the PCS, and we don't know who their jungler is. So, wait on those videos. They'll come out when they come out. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you come back for more content.